Yeah, the goal setting workshop next Tuesday. If you have not been to that, this is open to members, non-members, anybody. It's a free event, and it's, I can't express how much my life changed. I was fortunate at age 16 to have been handed a book by Zig Ziglar by my mentor. His name is Colonel A.I. Thomas, U.S. Marine Corps retired. If you have not heard the name, Colonel A.I. Thomas had the greatest combat record of any Marine Corps leader. He lost fewer men in combat than any other Marine Corps leader. He was amazing. But he gave me this copy of Zig Ziglar's book, and it taught me how to set goals. And I actually wrote down some goofy set of goals. But the funny thing was, it didn't matter that they were goofy, and all my friends thought I was crazy. I was the one that got the appointment to West Point and the scholarship to Texas A&M because I had my goals written down. They say that writing down your goals gives you a 43% higher chance of achieving them. I disagree with that. I think it's 100% higher. And the reason is that if your goals are just in your head, that's the creative side or the right side of your brain. And your left side, the logical side of your brain, doesn't get involved. The moment you write them down, your left side, the logical side, gets involved. You actually double your brain power working towards your goals. So if you don't have your goals written down, and even if you do and you just want a refresher, please be here next Tuesday. This is my second favorite class to teach. My favorite class to teach is the Saturday class. My second favorite is the goal setting class. I want to talk first about the little article that I wrote that's in the handout. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Give me 1 second. Saturday class 1 of 2, there we go. And it's the point that the holidays are wonderful, right? Everybody loves the holidays. And, you know, when I say that, some of you are going, what are you talking about, Steve? The holidays suck, they're stressful, they're this, that, and the other. Okay, I agree with you. But the good parts of the holidays are great. But for me, I always looked at October, November, and December, the holiday months, as a warning, not just a celebration. And the warning is another year of your life is gone. It's freaking gone. You know, people like celebrating and they're, oh, I'm gonna take all this time in November, I'm gonna take all this time in December and do nothing but party and go to events and stuff like that. I did not do that. I took my first Carlton Sheets course in either November or December. I remember it. It was a week-long boot camp because I was scared to death that the year was ending and another year of my life was gone. Another year of my earning ability, gone. Another year of my investing ability, gone. That's the warning of the holidays. You keep the Christmas cheer, you keep the holiday cheer. Don't get me wrong, I don't want you to turn negative, but make sure that you also use it as a warning that it's time to take action. Because the next year, do the years go by faster or slower? Faster. How many people in here are under 30? Ah, bloody liar. All right, if you're under 30, let's say you're 27. How fast did those 27 years go? Fast. I got bad news for you. The next 27 are going to go by even faster. You'll be 54. Did I let you know that getting old sucks? It freaking sucks. People don't tell you that. I'm not getting older, I'm getting better. Bullshit. Is that why you die at the end? I'm getting better, I'm learning more, I got life experience. Getting old sucks. Lower energy levels, lower cognitive skills, lower sex drive, lower everything. Yeah, and then you die. Your reward for getting old is you die. Happy day. Now, do you want to get negative about this? No. The reason is, let's reverse. Let's back up. Don't get negative about it. Get motivated about it. Get motivated. Put the pressure on yourself. There is a deadline. Get it? Deadline. There's a freaking deadline. We don't have forever. You better take action now. And what happened to me, once I took Carlton Sheets' course, and he goes, by the way, January, February, and March are the three most important months of the year, real estate-wise. I was like, my God, if I'd have put this off till February or March, I would have missed January, February, and March. So I want all of you to please consider this. Take action in December so that you're prepared for the opportunities that come in January, February, and March. What happens in January and February and March is tax consequences come into place. They come into play. Meaning, let's say that you have 40 single-family houses and you sold 10 of them in 2023. You don't want to sell anymore because you're going to get into a higher tax bracket. So what do you do January 1st? Put 10 or 11 up for sale. So there's a lot of property going to come up for sale in January, February, and March. Also, a lot of people who have deferred maintenance, a lot of people who have adjustable rate mortgages, they're going to try to liquidate those assets in the first quarter. So you want to be prepared. Those of you that are scheduled for my Saturday class on the 16th, which is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, do not miss that class. You want to be ready to go January 1st, not preparing to go, because you're going to miss some opportunities. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that all of the members know. So bear with me, members. I'm going to go through this rapidly, but we have a lot of guests in here tonight that are thinking about changing their lives financially, taking our course, becoming a member of Total Wealth Academy. So I want to give a 10-minute presentation about the real gist of what we do at Total Wealth Academy. The premise is you've got to have an effective map. If everybody will think about this, we're all given a map to success. From the time we're old enough to walk, people start giving us a map to success. And we'll start by saying, okay, where do we all start? Home. So who's the first person or people that give us a map to success? Our parents. And our parents give us a map that sounds something like this. Do real well in high school, work hard, try to get into college, go to college, work hard, try to get a degree, get out, get a job with a major corporation with high pay and what? Good benefits. High pay and good benefits. Oh, by the way, don't take a job you love and are happy at. Get a job with high pay and good benefits, because if you make a lot of money, you'll be happy anyway. How does that work? It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Then they tell you, put your money in an IRA, a 401k, speculate in the stock market, mutual funds, gold, silver, crypto, speculate for 45 years, then retire at 65 and live off your savings. Does that map sound familiar? It's the one we're all given. So first goal is we want to get to peace, joy, love, wealth, health, and happiness. We'll call that success. And again, from the time we're old enough to walk, people start telling us how to get to success. First our parents, then our teachers in high school. And what map did our teachers give us? Same map. Then we got into college. What map did our college professors and counselors give us? Same one. Who said it's a racket? It is a racket. But after you go on that map for a while, one of two things will wake you up. If you're lucky, like I was, you'll have a financial catastrophe at a young age. You'll get fired or you'll get a pay cut. For me, it was a pay cut. I was literally working 70 hours a week. I placed first place in a national sales contest. They sent me to Hawaii for a week, and when I got back from Hawaii, guess what they did? Cut my pay. Cut my pay by 20 grand a year. And what it did was it woke me up that the map might be wrong. Other people are not as lucky. They wait till midlife. They wait till 50, right? Midlife? See, the members know not to answer that. Midlife is 35. 2 times 35 is 70. 2 times 40 is 80. Midlife is 35 to 40. But we're sold what? They show you on TV the 50, 55-year-old guy walking the beach. Middle-aged Mr. Smith, what's he going to live to be, 110? You're not middle-aged. You're old. I'm 58. I'm old. Wake up. So people wake up at that 35th birthday or that 40th birthday, and they go, man, look, I'm nowhere near success, and I'm not even pointing at success. Well, the problem is what most people do is they blame themselves. Most of you have blamed yourself. You've said, I'm not smart enough. That's why I'm not in the financial position I want to be in. I'm not smart enough. So you went and got another degree, maybe a master's degree. Others of you said, I'm not working hard enough. So you got a second job. Or you started working 60, 70 hours a week like I did. Others of you said, it must be my attitude, my motivation. That's why I'm not successful. So you took motivational courses. Went to see Tony Robbins. Love Tony Robbins. Nothing against Tony Robbins. But you thought that was the solution. The problem is that all these things can do, more formal education, working harder, more motivation, all they can do is get you to the wrong place faster. Because the problem is not with you, the problem is with the map. Guess where the people that taught us how to get to success have never been? Success. Were your parents multimillionaire entrepreneurs? How about your high school teachers? Well, your college professors were multimillionaire entrepreneurs, right? And then some of you got desperate. You got desperate and you said, I need help. I need help financially. And then you saw this title, because we're all taught that titles are what? Important. Titles are important. They're not. Deeds and deeds alone are important. I know people with 4 or 5 titles on their business card that are flat broke. Titles mean nothing. Let me give you an example. Some of you got desperate and you saw this title, financial planner, but you didn't do the math. You went out and hired a financial planner to help you succeed financially. But you didn't Google, what does the average financial planner in the United States make? 100 grand a year. So here's what you did. You went into that financial planner's office and you said, hey, buddy, you don't make a lot of money. You're not retired. You're not financially independent. You're not rich. But can you teach me how to get rich and financially independent? They can't help you. They've never done it. They've never done it. See, and the funny thing is, this is a book, George Clason's The Richest Man in Babylon, got to be 100 years old. It's based off principles that are 1,000 years old. Do you know the map that they put in that book is build a second stream of income? But how many of you knew that you were supposed to build a second stream of income? Did your parents tell you that? Your teachers, your college professors? They didn't even tell you. Warren Buffett said it, and has said it multiple times over the last 30 years. Never depend on a single source of income. Invest to create a second source. So was Buffett talking about stocks, mutual funds, gold, silver, crypto? No. They don't produce what? Cash flow. He was referring to businesses and real estate. Real estate accounts for 90% of the millionaires in the United States. So guess what you should probably put in your portfolio? A little bit of real estate. See, people, here's my sales pitch for enrolling. If you take my Saturday class, again, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 16th, I'm going to give you the map you see at the top. I'm going to give you a map that takes you directly to that second stream of income. Directly to, because I can't express this enough. When I was 27 and they cut my pay, I had this idea that 30 was old. And I was scared to death not to be wealthy by 30. By the time I was 30, I was financially independent. Not rich, but financially independent. Meaning the income from my assets paid all my bills and gave me a lot of extra money for travel and romance and fun. I never had to work. The peace of mind that comes with having a second income stream is, it's hard to describe, but I want you to think about it. Take where you're at right now. If you had a second stream of income that was double what you earned at your job, what would your peace of mind be like? Could you spend more time with the kids? Could you hit the gym? Could you take care of the charities that you're interested in? It is a different lifestyle. And any of you that want to learn how to do this, please enroll. If you'll turn to the back of the brochure we handed out, if you're not a member, we're doing a promotion in December where we're going to give you, it's a $2,000 program that we always sell as a first-time incentive at $500. If you want to learn this map that we're teaching, if you'll join with us tonight, we'll give it to you for $300. Catch to it. You got to take it the 16th of December. I'm not going to let you take it in January. Well, that class is full and so is February. I'm not going to let you take it in March. But if you'll take the class in December, we'll give it to you for $300. Now, I want to share one quick idea, and then I'll be done. The rich teach their kids differently than the poor and the middle class. When my son was 8 years old, I took him a copy of The Richest Man in Babylon that I just showed you, and I handed it to him. And I said, son, I want you to read this book. And remember, you have to build a second stream of income. When he was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, guess what I told him? Build a second stream of income. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Son, you're headed off to college. Make sure you remember to build a second stream of income. By the time he graduated college, he had 11 rent houses and $4,000 a month in what? Second stream of income. Now, you may say, well, your son's brilliant, he's hardworking. Yep, so are you. So are you. But you just weren't told, were you? You were not told to build a second stream of income. You were told to scrimp and save. Put your money in the stock market. The map doesn't work. If you take my Saturday class, I'm going to show you the map that does work. So thank you for your time. I just realized, are you the first speaker? Who's the first speaker, Lucas? It is David Fisher? Excellent. All right. This guy is very entertaining, and he's a wonderful guy. The deal that he has put together astounded me when I first saw it. His website is phenomenal, so I definitely recommend that you visit his website just to see the tour that he does. Was that a, what do you call it, a drone, where he takes you through the entire complex, including the interior of the complex, so you can see the high level of quality that he is producing. And here to share the ideas of how he's getting this thing cash flowing is David Fisher. Appreciate it. Oops, let me get this out of the way. And this clicker will work.
Got it.
If that one goes out, there's another one right there.
So Steve's referring to a property we have in the Heights called Kefi Spaces. And the reason we have a drone tour is because it's a concept that many of you have not heard of called co-warehousing. Have anybody ever heard of WeWork? Co-working? Well, basically, we have one of those in Sugar Land, and it's very successful. It's not like the current WeWork that we all know about, but we translated that into warehousing, where they actually do WeWork, so to speak, where they can rent small warehouse spaces with loading docks and everything on a month-to-month basis, and it's very profitable. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about, actually. What I really want to talk to you about is a case study of our storage facility and our business park in Sugar Land. I wanted to share with you where we came from, where I came from. I'm a corporate jet broker, and I spend time appraising and dealing with corporate jets, and a lot of my clients are real estate entrepreneurs. And so I got really interested in real estate, especially during the recession. The fact is, nobody was buying or selling any real estate back in the recession. I mean, any corporate jets, and I wasn't making any money. So I thought, what do my customers do that makes money? And so that's how I got involved in real estate. Started with tenants and toilets, single-family homes, and really did well with them. I had 20 of them, and they was generating about $800 a month income, and I still had a little bit of money left over, and I was going to show an airplane to a guy in flying from here to California, and I asked him what he did for a living, because he's going to spend $2.5 million on an aircraft that in the middle of a recession, nobody was buying them. And he said he was in mini storage business. And I'm thinking, who the hell would want to be in mini storage? Until I researched it, and it was, it got me involved. To start off, let me just talk a little bit about Imperial Business Park. It started off as a really poorly run mini storage, dilapidated, run down, great neighborhood. Great neighborhood. And what we did is we catered to the needs of our tenants. I want to go over a few things. Number one, a little bit about myself. I want to go over some of the background about how we turned a place called Voss Road Storage, which was a small place that generated $24,000 a year in gross revenue, into a business park. And so let me kind of go over that. I've told you a bit about what we, how I got started in it. But the way we created the business park is we had a lot of tenants there who were small business people, and they needed just an office. And so one of the things we did is, and it's a very long story, but one of the things we did was we created office space for them. And we rented it out on a per office basis on a month-to-month, just like a Regus or a WeWork or any of those. We did that because there was a demand for it. And on the bottom floor, we put in office warehouses. And at the same time we did that, we expanded the facility. We doubled the number of units because they were pretty much all non-climate. We made it 50-50 now, okay? Myself, I've given you some of my background. I was a crew chief in the Air Force. From there, I worked for GE Aviation. They transferred me to NASA. And then I started Western Aviation in January of 2000. And I'm still doing that business today. And I'll be honest with you, I'm passionate about aviation. But I'm also passionate about the money generated from real estate because, we're in a recession right now. And buying and selling aircraft is kind of up and down again. And they took away the bonus depreciation. And so all these tax write-offs, and so it fluctuates. It's like a roller coaster. But real estate is real estate. And that's where the wealth is. They say the quickest way to lose a fortune is to buy an airplane, okay? What's that? Yeah. No, I think, yeah, you're probably right. So a bit of background, Imperial Business Park, Highway 6 and Voss Road, located right by the Sugar Land Airport. You're probably familiar with the area, okay? Across the street from Kempner High School, okay? Bought the place, tiny facility, really run down, and the people that owned it were, the reason it was only doing $24,000 a year in revenue is because most of the occupants were their friends and family, okay? They were bartering, and it was a mess, okay? I cleaned it up. I didn't know what I was doing, so I actually taught the managers who were I asked the managers to teach me, and they were terrible. But at least I knew how to do it wrong now, as opposed to not knowing how to do it at all, okay? And then I listened to the customers. They wanted climate control. Well, what do you think? It's 200 degrees outside and 200% humidity, and who wants to put a piece of wood furniture in a storage unit that's gonna crack? And so we started working on that. And then in Sugar Land, there's a need for cold storage because out there's such an eclectic community, people from Pakistan and India and Africa that have food that you can't buy at Kroger. And so I wanted to serve that need. And then came the office space. Out there, the community is very entrepreneurial. First and second generation immigrants I have a heart for because they're the most entrepreneurial people I've ever met. And so we could capitalize on their entrepreneurialism by providing space to grow their business, okay? So that's the business we're in. We have parking space, freezer storage, cold storage, office space, warehouse space, climate controlled, non-climate controlled. What business are we in? We're in space business. And I try to tell my staff that, hey, listen, we're in one business. We're in the business of renting space, okay? We have a podcast studio because we have these entrepreneurs who wanted to do that. My wife even has a podcast called Small Business Insights. So we looked at strategy, how to grow the business, but with Zig Ziglar in mind. And Zig Ziglar, as you all know, said, in order to get what you want, you have to help enough other people get what they want. And so I always have that in my mind. Every day I'm always thinking about that, okay? And so giving you a bit of the history here. In 2011, I acquired the place, okay? In 2012, I acquired, the people who built the place moved out of their 2.5 acres, and I had an option to acquire that land. And then in 2015, the gentleman to my left had passed away, and the moment they had a for sale sign up there, I bought it. And so now I had 9 acres, as opposed to just a little bit. And so then I started working on my expansion plan, because prior to that, I had nowhere to grow, okay? It took a lot of money to do this. In fact, what I needed was $13.8 million. Now, mind you, my only initial investment was $500,000, and to fix the place up, I took a second mortgage against my house for another $500,000, and I put it in, because I wanted best product, best price. So I started the expansion idea, actually about 2018. 25 banks turned me down for an SBA loan. 25 banks. That's a whole nother story, how we got past that, but we did get past that. Huh? I'll teach you. I wanted to know it too. I wanted to know why am I getting turned down, and I can answer that for you. So when we bought the property, it was generating $24,000 a year in revenue. I can share with you, by meeting the needs of my tenants and staying true to what I learned in single-family homes, like when you owe your rent, you better pay your rent. Okay, because I'm giving you the best product at the best price, and I want to be paid for it because I got this mortgage now that started off at $10,000 a month, and now it's $75,000 a month. I really need to pay my mortgage, right? And so our revenue at the end of this year will be $2.4 million, okay? And so that is what we did. So if you look at the numbers, the property went from $2.5 million, what I paid for it in 2011, to a recent appraisal was $25 million for the property, okay? And so that is a 1,000% appreciation. But the revenue is 10,000% increase in revenue. And we live on that revenue. I mean, not lavishly. We don't live like, vacations every day, but realistically, we're not poor either, all right? I never taken on partners prior to my Heights location. I just didn't really understand the concept. And so now I'm sharing you a story of what we accomplished without partners, until I came to the realization that, hey, with a partner investment, we can basically enjoy a bigger pie. I had never really hooked onto that before. So basically the equity appreciation went from $500,000, and now the property has a $14 million equity in it. And this represents a 2,800% growth, showcasing the significant return on investment. And if I had brought in partners early on, and I knew how to structure that and everything, I probably could have had 10 more properties by now, because they would have, talked to their friends and talked to their friends and stuff like that. So I figured it's not too late to start now. So this is some of those metrics. Just want to show you what those metrics are. We've already discussed them. And then basically, in conclusion, we basically took a modest storage facility and completely renovated it. And then we added components to it that were in demand for our customers. I'm going to mention one quick thing about Kefi Spaces. The reason I created Kefi Spaces, the co-warehouse concept, okay, is because we built 14 office warehouses because we had 28 warehouse units that were 14 by 40 or 12 by 40, and they were always full. But some of them wanted like a little office in front of it. So we made them 12 by 50s and put them in a little 12 by 10 office in front. My waiting list is 8 months long. And when somebody gives us a 2-month notice to vacate, we have a hard deposit within 10 minutes, okay? So I'm thinking, why on earth are you moving when you waited 8 months to even get a phone call from us, and then you put a deposit down within 10 minutes and you had to wait another 2 months? Why would you leave? Here's what I learned. They're in the e-commerce business, a lot of them, and they're growing. We have something that most storage facilities don't. Well, we don't have what they don't. We don't have a loading dock, and we don't have room to expand the walls. So at Kefi, that's exactly what I built. And we're in the middle of lease up there. And I think we're raising our last $690,000 is the last amount we need to raise. And we opened January 15th, and we're already at 50% occupancy. This is amazing. At Imperial, we're actually building 3 more buildings. Phase 2 will be 2 of those buildings, smaller ones. And phase 3 will be a 100,000 square foot warehouse. And we'll raise capital for that once I get all the numbers put together. I'm meeting with the contractors on Monday, so I can get my head around what the numbers are and make sure that the deal pencils really well. I'm meticulous when it comes to the spreadsheets. So, and I've got a lot of bumps and bruises in my old age. Okay, next steps. I've mentioned what KEFI is. I mentioned what KEFI does. I mentioned the background with regards to taking a storage facility and making it a business park. And this is kind of what it all looks like. And if you go to kefispaces.com, you can take a video tour of KEFI inside and out. Before we were open to the public, the marketing company came in and we had a video done of it. And then Imperial Storage, if anybody ever wants a tour of the facility and what we've done in a business park, I guarantee you'll never see a 48-foot by 40 walk-in cooler with chain link fence all over it so people can rent a compartment, okay? But I'm also adding a new freezer part. I already have a freezer. It's been sold out since the day it opened. But right now it's covered parking. I rent the covered parking for 52 cents a square foot. Next to it, I have a freezer. I'm renting it for $11.38 a square foot. So it makes sense to extend the freezer and get rid of the covered parking because it just makes sense. So anyway, that's the mentality, and that's where I really pencil the numbers. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Enjoyed that, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, another round of applause for David Fisher on that presentation. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out, especially in December, right? Usually these kind of events are a little bit slower, so good to see a full room. I'm the next speaker. My name's Devin Elder. I'm going to go over a case study on a deal in San Antonio. So multifamily case study. This is a deal that we bought. We ran it for a few years. We executed our business plan, exited. And so I'm just going to walk through that whole thing, and I'll save a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. That's kind of my favorite part, is to kind of dive in and answer any questions that I didn't cover. So let's get into it. This is a multifamily case study, and you're going to see lots of pictures of the project and some of our other projects in this presentation here. So talk about a little bit about my background and the team. We'll go through the case study, and then of course Q&A at the end. That's me, Devin Elder. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate investor for the last 10 years, educator, podcast host. The short story for me in real estate, I had a pretty normal trajectory, I think. Grew up in San Antonio, college, corporate career. And then a few years in the corporate career, I started getting a little bit anxious and kind of wanting to go out and do my own thing. So I became an entrepreneur in real estate. And since 2012, we've done hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions. We own about $250 million of real estate right now in Central Texas, which is pretty wild. I want to give a shout out to Steve Davis. I've known Steve Davis for many, many years, and he was the guy that I was listening to in my last corporate job when I was driving to work, and I would listen to Steve all day, every day, along with a million other podcasts and books. And there's a period of about 2.5 years where I worked my corporate job and also built my real estate business. And so Steve was one of those very early influences on me, getting me into this business. And so I credit him for being a very important mentor for me early on. So my company's DJE, established in 2012. We're vertically integrated, meaning we own a management company. Today, snapshot today, we're about 75 employees. We own land all over Texas, industrial projects, and about 2,200 units of multifamily across about 10 properties, and we're closing an 11th property next month. Hundreds of transactions, and that's kind of the quick snapshot. This is a look at some of our portfolio in San Antonio. This is not all of it, but this gives you a snapshot of the types of multifamily deals that we do. We've got a 63-unit mixed-use downtown on the Riverwalk, 114-unit in North San Antonio, a 600-unit portfolio we bought a couple years ago, 268, 154, 256, 400, 292, and there's more to that, but it gives you an idea. If I had my way, we're buying a 250-unit apartment complex every quarter. Buy 4 a year, sell 2. Doesn't always work out like that, but that's kind of the cadence that we're built for. Along the way, we built the management company. Multifamily property management is difficult. Whether you're doing it in-house, that's its own set of challenges, or you're doing it third party, different set of challenges. We decided I would rather it be my circus than somebody else's circus. So we have that circus in-house to manage this. So that's just a little bit about the firm. I want to get into the case study now. And this is an overview of an acquisition, renovation, and disposition of a property we renamed the Mila. This is in north central San Antonio, not too far from the airport, a little bit west of the airport. There it is right here. This is one we acquired back in 2019. Since I got into this business, I've always been looking for deals, always talking to brokers, always making offers, and this was kind of the same thing where a broker friend of mine out of Dallas said, hey, there's this off-market deal, think you might have some interest in it. Ended up driving over to it that day and walking it, secret shopping it. I told the poor leasing girl I was looking for an apartment for my sister, the thinnest excuse, she saw right through it, but I did get on site that day, and that, all of our apartments are in San Antonio and one in San Marcos. And I've always liked being able to be on the properties kind of immediately, whether it's one we own or whether one we're looking at. So that was the case here. Went over that day, kind of did a little secret shop, put an offer and bought it off market. We owned it for 29 months. So we structure multifamily syndications similar to how a lot of operators do it, where you say, hey, we're going to go in and do this deal, and we project a 5-year hold. It's kind of what a lot of folks do. It's what we do too. Historically, we've exited earlier than that. This one was 29 months. We spent a little over $600,000 on our CapEx, which is actually not much. It was a pretty clean property. We did some interior turns. We did the rebrand. We did some cleanup and landscaping and things like that. So pretty straightforward value add strategy. Capital improvement budget was not too crazy. I would call it kind of a middle of the road. And so that's what we did. Summary, we bought it for a little under $8 million, put over a little over $600K into it, almost $600K in closing costs, reserves, and operating capital. So we're all in at $9.1 million. This was built in the early 70s, so a little bit older product. You kind of have a little higher repair and maintenance line item on this older product, but that doesn't scare us away. I would call it a kind of a B property. You can make the argument for it being a C plus property. But the area was good, central area, good bones on the property. 124 units, 92% occupancy at the time of purchase. And the way we structured this was a 75-25 split, meaning that the investors, the passive silent partners, owned 75% of the deal, and then me as the manager of the project owned 25% of the deal. But there's a little extra kicker for investors in that they got 8% of the project proceeds first. So that's often called a preferred return. Your sponsor may or may not do that. We do that. That's how we structure our deals, meaning that of all the profits that the project throws off, the first 8% gets paid to investors. So if they get $100K in the deal, they're getting 8% a year on it first. Then after that, we as the manager get 25%, they get 75%. So good deal for passive investors. That's how we're able to attract capital to these deals, is the investors own most of it, and we do all the work, and it truly is a passive investment for those investors. So that's how we structured it. Most of our deals these days are similar structure. We've done 80-20 splits. We've done 70-30 splits. We've always done a preferred return. Interior updates. I mean, we've been doing this a while. They're all the same. It's vinyl plank, two-tone paint, appliances. In this case, we did some stainless. You're maybe doing a backsplash. You're maybe doing new cabinet pulls or new cabinet faces. I've done a lot of different real estate development stuff, building houses, building industrial, ground up construction. Multifamily interior renovations are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to it, and they're kind of all the same. And the nice thing is whatever you're doing to one unit, you're kind of doing to dozens or hundreds of units, so pretty straightforward on the interior renovation. There's a leasing office. We didn't do a whole lot to that, maybe new paint. Some photos here. I think kind of once, maybe I've just been doing this a while. Once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. There's the model unit. Exterior capital projects, parking lot, roof repairs, new signage. I mentioned that we rebranded it. It was called Autumnbrook when we bought it, and we renamed it to the Mila. Some plumbing work. I mentioned it's an early 70s property, so you're kind of always going to see some plumbing work on a property of this vintage. Solar screens, my favorite bang for the buck value add strategy. You know, you take all those old single pane windows with blinds and people's stuff and just throw a solar screen on it. It's cheap to do a whole property. It makes it look uniform, makes it look nice. One of my favorite little value add things to do. When I see a property without solar screens, I get excited. I'm like, oh, no value add guys have grabbed this one yet because there's no solar screens. That's the easy layup of a aesthetic update for you. Some of the landscaping and signage at the front end there. Landscaping goes a long way. And then, you know, just kind of an updated paint scheme. You can see how the solar screens create some uniformity there. I have a feeling this grass might be digitally enhanced, but I don't know. That looks pretty darn good to me. Yeah, I don't think that looks like San Antonio in the summer. I don't know how you guys do it in Houston. We're scorching hot. But the rest of it's real, so you get the idea there. Pool area. This is, I guess, pretty good gut job on one of them. Again, bought it for a little under $8 million. Put a little over $600K into it. Sold in 2021 after 25 months. Total return of $184K. Meaning, if you put $100,000 into that project, you got back $184,000 over the life of the project. Average annualized return 28%. We always target 17% average annualized return. And that's what I've been doing kind of since the first deal, all the way to now. You know, we're looking if we do a multifamily deal, what I'm looking for is, hey, we're going to target a 5-year hold. Maybe we sell before that. And we're going to target getting you 7% on your money. So if you got $100K in the deal, I want to send you $7K a year while we're in it. That's that preferred return. And we send monthly distributions. And then when we get done with it, I want to return your capital, so get that $100K back to you, plus the rest of it. And we target 17%, just because that's an easy number to kind of wrap your head around. The truth is, you know, it's never going to be exactly 17. The deals we've sold have historically performed higher, this one included. But that's what we're targeting when we go after these multifamily deals. We want to get 17% average annualized return on investor capital, net everything, right? Net any fees, all that stuff. So this one did that. We were happy to go full cycle on that and get another deal up on the board. For a sponsor, it's a big deal to have a full cycle deal up on the board because it takes years. You know, in this case, it took us 29 months, a little over 2 years. And you know, that's really kind of the only time you can really measure how the deal did, is when you go full cycle and how to do compared to the business plan. So those were the deal metrics. There's plenty I could talk about this deal, but I definitely want to turn it over to you guys. Been operating in San Antonio for the last decade as a multifamily operator, own the management company, own a bunch of deals, different asset classes. I'm here to help in any way I can. My goal from this evening is that you walk away from something that was maybe a new idea or a new perspective on something, and any value I can add front of the room here or out talking there later, I'm happy to do it. So please, let's hear a couple of questions and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, sir.
Because of the economy bust, if you run into unexpected delinquency issues which you're unable to get out of, what do you do? Have you run into something like that?
Sure. So if you run into unexpected delinquency issues, how do you accommodate that? So for sure, on any multifamily project you run as an operator, you're going to run into unexpected issues, right? Whether it's contractor issues, delinquency issues, lender issues. I mean, that's why we get paid, to take care of that. So delinquency specifically, a lot of times it's a tenant issue where you're re-tenanting a property. So you come in and take over a property and maybe the tenant base is different than you thought going in, and you've just simply got to re-tenant some of that property. So it could be things like your screening standards or other things like that. But delinquency issues, especially on a takeover, I would say to expect it, right? And the key would be to have a screening process, have a tenant standard, and then you're going to be spending some marketing dollars potentially to backfill that or have a marketing strategy around it. But you got to get the tenants in that are paying. I think, our average delinquency right now in our portfolio, looking this week, is $3,000 per site on average, right? And that's over 2,200 units, and or millions of dollars in rent collected. We're down to about $3,000 per site. So some of those are lower, some of those are higher. So to in short, answer your question on delinquency issues. You don't pay, you don't stay, and I think the faster you get to that conclusion, the better. So, great question. Thank you. Happy to answer any others. Yes, sir, in the back. Or
you said 7% while you're in the deal, you pay the members.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I know in 2020, 2021, the interest rates were lower, insurance rates didn't go crazy like they're going now.
Yep.
So in this economy, with these rates going higher, and you're about to close one in January, you're still able to get 7% to investors?
That's a great question. So if we're targeting 7% to investors with interest rates higher, how are we getting to that? Couple of ways we look at that. One, that first year might not be 7%, right? Because there's a lot to do in the first year when you buy a property. But what we do say is that we're accruing that 7%. It's the way we structure it. Not saying every sponsor does this. The way we do it is the day we get into the deal, your 7% is accruing to the investors. Maybe that first year we're not able to get to it, or maybe we're not going to start distributions for the first quarter or two, and we'll spell that out up front depending on the deal. Some deals we can get there right away. Some deals it's a little later in that first year. But by that second year and on, we want to get to the 7%. Debt's higher now. Interest rates are higher. On acquisitions right now, assumption's kind of the name of the game, right? Buying a rate from the past. So a deal we're closing next month, we're assuming the existing debt. And so you've got a rate in the 4s, which you can't get right now. And so that's, I would say that's the most likely way that you're going to make the debt work right now, is to assume somebody's existing note to get there. Yep.
Those are available, a lot of assumption loans?
I would say a lot, but yeah, they're still available, right? It's kind of, in the last year, 18 months, debt's been really different. But you've got a tremendous amount of loans that are assumable. As people are snatching those up, myself or other sponsors, those aren't going to last forever. If rates don't come down next year and all these assumable loans get picked up, there's a finite supply, right? They were originated in the past. So that supply will dwindle down. But no, they're out there. We see it all the time. Great question. Yes, sir, you in the very back? Yeah, yep. Great question. So how do we factor in inflation returns? There's several things I want to address in that question. On a dollar return or a percentage return, I don't. I don't pretend to know what inflation is. I don't believe the government CPI numbers at all, right? But that doesn't mean I have a better number what inflation is. The only thing I can do is say, I want to turn your 100 into 180, or I want to turn your 100 into 170. The purchasing power of that 100, that's not up to me. I'm just working on raw numbers of turning $1 into $1.50 or turning $1 to $2. Inflation's real. It's different, I think, than the CPI and what the government's saying. Inflation works, so that's how I account for it. I've seen operators try to account for the tax advantage of these. I don't do any of that cuteness. I just say, I want to turn $1 into $1.70 for you. That's our target. I don't pretend to know what a basket of goods is going to cost in 3 years or any of that stuff. So that, from that perspective, it's very simple. On the real estate side, inflation is hurting us with our annual expense escalation, and we might run those at 5% a year right now. We might run them hot. It's hurting us. It's a headwind. We always have headwinds and we always have tailwinds. So the tailwinds are rent is part of inflation too. Now, rent's been a little soft this year, but that's only because it was bonkers since COVID, right? I mean, COVID rents went through the roof. Now they're flat. But inflation is pushing rents up. Inflation is also absolutely pushing asset values up. So we've got it pushing asset values up, pushing rents up, pushing expenses up. But in terms of the purchasing power of your 100K, if you invest with me in 2023 and what that purchasing power will be in 2027, that's, I can't possibly calculate that. Yep. Sure. Sure. So who is putting? Yeah, great question. Who's putting money in the deal? It's called the capital stack, and ours on our multifamily deal is really simple, right? If I may, this is your capital stack, and there's all kind of ways to cut this, but this is 100%. Let's say it's 10 million. This deal was, let's round up to 10 million bucks. To buy it, to set aside capital, to renovate it, the whole thing, 10 million bucks. Well, this is usually how it goes. The bank's got 70% of the deal, the first lien position. This is debt. Investors have 30% of it, and that's equity. So bank's got debt, investors have equity, and that's how we do it. Now, of the equity, I've got 10% of it. So whatever that number is, I'm putting 10%. One, because this is how I invest my money. Two, and to see it, right? They don't want to see the guy running the deal not have any money in the deal. So lender wants to see 10%, but we're all in the same boat here in terms of equity. And that's, now, you go talk to these New York guys, this gets a million times more complicated. We don't really complicate it beyond that. It's a bank loan and equity for the rest. Great question. No, because look, the bank debt is at, well, right now it's at 8%, right? Let's just say in a normal market, 6%, whatever. Investor money costs a lot. It costs 15, 18, 20%. The bank's only getting 6%, right, on their money. Now, they print it out of thin air. That's a whole other issue. Don't get me started. But the point is, they're not getting any upside on the deal. It's a bank note, and they're just getting paid out. But that's the capital stack of a typical multifamily deal. That's how we do it. So. For this here, yeah, sure, it fluctuates. You might have the debt only be 60%. Right now we're seeing lower leverage. You might see debt up to 80%. So yeah, it fluctuates. It fluctuates. Yep. And then of the equity, this part, and I don't want to get too wonky here, but that part is investors own this, and I own this. So I own 30% of the equity, 25% of the equity, whatever, and investors own most of the equity. Meaning they own the company that puts this deal together, investors own most of that company. Jeff Bezos owns 16% of Amazon, right? Investors own most of Amazon. Investors own most of my apartment deals. And I own, smaller piece. Just typical GP LP split. Great question. Couple more. Yes, sir.
You said at the beginning, ideally, you're trying to buy 4 properties a year and dispose of 2 or sell 2, to use a better word.
Sure.
So is that because you're trying to expand your portfolio, or do y'all have some projects you're doing very long-term holds on for cash flow?
Yeah, so the question is, if we're trying to buy 4 a year and sell 2, are we doing any long-term holds? Short answer for multifamily, no. We do a cookie cutter thing. If we're bringing in investors, it's the same thing. And we kind of talk about it with the team. If you've seen a deal from us, even if it was 3 years ago, the next one's going to look the same. The deck's pretty much the same. The ownerships are the same. The ownership percentages, the business plans, the same. Dollar amounts might change. We might be buying something for $12 million, and the next deal we're buying it for $25 million. But effectively, the business plan is the same, and it's usually that 5-year hold. And the reason is, number one, I'm a passive investor in a whole bunch of deals. I don't want to be in a deal with you for 15 years. Like, I just don't want to do it. We want to get in, make money, and, that's a long time to keep the band together. So that's how we do that. There are other assets. There are other assets in my portfolio that don't have investors that I'm going to hold for the rest of my life, right? Or that's the plan. But for these types of deals, nope. We got a simple, as simple as it gets, business plan. Here's a game plan. We're going to come together, execute it. The team's done lots of them. The next one looks a lot like the last one, and we're just going to keep going. The other thing is, these are 70s and 80s vintage assets, and we might come in with $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million bucks on the front end and really polish this thing up. But man, 5 years into a hold on a 70s asset, it needs somebody else to come in and write a big check. It's just, these things need a lot of capital. And so that's kind of when it's time for that next operator to come in with a new loan and a new capital stack and go, you know what, we're gonna continue to do this thing. The bank actually makes us escrow, call it $300 a year per unit for capital improvements, just because they know that these assets are going to need them. If we were building new stuff or buying 2020 vintage stuff, different deal. But yeah, so number one, we want to get in, get out, hit the marks, go do more deals. Number two, these assets need capital such that I don't necessarily want to be in it for 20 years. Let's do one more question, and then we're gonna move on to some fun stuff here. So maybe one more. Yes, sir.
Understanding how you came to that $600,000 number with regard to the rehab, and you kind of starting to touch on that now.
Sure. Yeah, so rehab number, 600K, 700K. It's a fine-tuning process. The second a deal hits my desk, we go, hey, I know this area, I know this vintage, and I'm going to talk about it with my property management leadership and go, we think it's $8K a door. And that's going to be our just shoot from the hip number. And then as we put it under contract, then we get vendors out there, we start to validate that, but it doesn't change much. We got that number pretty dialed in, right, just from doing a bunch of them. So we kind of know what that ballpark number is to get that capital number, and then it kind of changes a little bit through the closing process, and then we dial it in. So guys, my name's Devin Elder. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap it up, and we're going to bring Trevor up for some fun stuff. Thanks, guys.
Well, I'm going to go first.